Hello, I'm Martin Warwick, the Editor-in-Chief of TelecomTV, and we are here in The Hague in the Netherlands at Tech Mahindra's Network Services Conclave 2016. I'm talking with an old pal, Andrew Coward, who is VP of Strategy at Brocade. So we meet again, Mr.
I know, it feels like that, doesn't it?
It is a bit like that. Need a cat to stroke. Thanks for talking to us again, Andrew. I'd like to begin by asking you this. We're now at the point of actually implementing NFV solutions, and that, of course, is the hard part. It's where people can trip and fall over because it's real transformation is happening. Right, where are we at and what is it like at the sharp end?
Well, I actually kind of think that the show we're at this week is almost like a therapy session because I think we've all been going through this, and it's painful, right? And I think for vendors like Brocade, we've traditionally kind of come from a perspective where we deliver products and somehow magically customers absorb those products and put them in a network and then things happen. What we found in this transformation is there's a lot more work to do because the service providers are going through their own transformational change to adopt software. Agility is this big focus and so on. And so to actually get over this hurdle and get to implementation means there's a lot more steps than we've traditionally done. And therefore, we kind of need partners to make that happen.
Right. Now, throughout the development of SDN, certainly through the development of NFV, all the way through sort of notions of cloudification, network transformation and so on, the attitude to partnering between companies within the industry has changed completely. If you remember, I'm sure you do remember, in the past, there would be daggers drawn. Many of them wouldn't work with anybody, wouldn't even acknowledge one another's existence. I've been in places where there have been major companies next door to each other who would not even admit they were next door to one another. That has changed. Now we're seeing these partnerships, these joint ventures, these alliances forming, coalescing, reforming and so on. Do you think that's a permanent feature of the future?
I hope so. And I suppose hope is not a strategy. But I think what we've seen is the move to open source particularly, and so layers in the network that are open source today, some of the provisioning pieces, some of the orchestration pieces. And so that means naturally that the carriers themselves are making choices to keep the network open. And open used to mean two products could talk to each other. So even if the vendors hated each other, they would at least exchange packets.
Right.
Open now means replaceable. I should be able to replace one vendor's product with another vendor's product and keep everything the same. And that's reliant on having a kind of common infrastructure above the products to make that, enable that to happen, to abstract it.
Now you mentioned that the job is to help customers through this transformation process, and you talked about partners. What partners do you actually need to be able to do what you want to do and to satisfy the needs of your customers?
Well, I think for Brocade, and we've kind of been on this journey for about 5 years now. It seems a very long time. But as we started to kind of get out of the labs, get out of the testing environments and into production, the question fundamentally was, how does a bill get printed for this service? How does an operational integration happen? How does all of these things that are kind of related to kind of northbound or up from where we are work? And those were the partners that we ended up seeking. Now it turned out that the carriers themselves were on a similar journey because they need to figure out how to get all this work done. So it then became a question of, well, who actually has the chops and the smarts, who understands software networking and understands the OSS, VSS, and all these legacy systems, who can actually kind of bridge and bring all of this together.
Which brings us, this is a Tech Mahindra event, as we can see from behind us, the back cloth here. Why was Tech Mahindra brought in to help with transformation then?
Well, I think for exactly those reasons. Tech Mahindra's had a long history of working with carriers. They have a long history of OSS, BSS, and all of that side of things, integration. And I think also carriers recognized that they didn't want this transformation to be done to them. They wanted it to be done with them. And so they needed partners that would help with that. And as Brocade was looking at this as well, it's, well, which partners can help us to get through that? So it turns out in many accounts, we were working but not together. We were in the account but not together. And now, essentially, because of the alliances that we have with Tech Mahindra, we're now, instead of working kind of separately, we end up working together to make these things come to reality.
Tech Mahindra's been around for quite a long time. It's a big company. They've got a lot of people working for them. What's it like, as far as you're concerned, to work with them?
It's been an interesting experience because, again, and honestly, we hadn't had experience working with large integrators because we hadn't needed to. So we've been on this learning experience through that process. We've ended up working with very large carriers together, and so we've learned a huge amount through it, and I believe they have. This has been a kind of teaching session, if you like, both ways. It's
a two-way street.
A two-way street.
Yeah.
So I would say 2-3 years ago, we didn't know anything about what was needed at OSS BSS. We can have a very competent conversation with customers now because of what we learned, because we're sat together in the same room with Tech Mahindra.
And will you continue working with them?
Absolutely. We see Tech Mahindra as a key partner as we, together with them, help customers go through this transformation.
Okay. As usual, Andrew Coward, good to see you.
Pleasure.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Martin.